Epic Mickey is one of those games that I can gush about for hours, and I do mean hours. The design, the concepts introduced, and the gameplay is special to me. And it was on the Wii, probably one of the best entertainment systems of all time, though I am a little biased. Yeah, it's safe to say I love this game. Genuine love. Shaded no doubt by rose-tinted lenses, childhood nostalgia, and that same love. So when I heard the remaster was being released after years of failed sequels and little to no fanfare, I was excited. This was the game I wanted a remaster for, other than Soul Reaver, but that's a separate video. Maybe, don't quote me on that. So let's take a peek beyond Jensen's veil for a moment and ask the question, is the remake truly epic? Or does it rely on nostalgia and Disney fans? The first thing I'd like to bring attention to is the intro cinematic. Here's the original for the Wii. Not bad for the time. In fact, I'd argue it's pretty good. The lighting isn't as dynamic or bold as the remaster, but that's honestly to be expected of a 13-year-old game. Overall, it's still pretty solid. Now, let's look at the same shot, reanimated for the remaster. And yes, it is the same shot. A few liberties here and there, sure, but the people that made the remaster did their level best to recreate them faithfully, a venture I believe they succeeded in. They succeeded in it so well, in fact, that I remember watching it for the first time, and I said out loud to my sister, "What changed? It looks exactly the same." Because that was how I remembered it. In the mind of child me, this is how the intro looked. It was vibrant, it was rich, and it was fun to look at. Another point in the favor of the remaster's intro is the audio, which is completely reused. There were no changes as far as I can tell, and I've watched them over a couple times for this video. And this got me excited for it. And a lot of other fans shared the same sentiment. Was this the remaster we'd so desperately sought after? Was this going to bring back the glory days of playing Epic Mickey on the Wii to an updated, modern firmware? And was this going to be what the game needed to be brought back in the public eye, and to possibly take the world by storm? So, as we're all aware, technology has become significantly more advanced since the Wii. A fact that's exceedingly apparent by just looking at the two trailers side by side. In the remaster, the blot, it has more drip, it's more viscous, it's liquidy, it looks like if you touch it you would get wet. The older blot, it still has that liquid vibe to it, but it's more stiff. It's almost like flubber, which might have been intentional, honestly. It's also more purple in the remaster, which I like, because it adds another dimension to it rather than just being this dark, black, slight hint of purple, but overall flat color in the original. The blot just has a massive glow-up, which is exceedingly impressive to me, because its design was already so solid and simple, I didn't really think that there was anything that could be done to it. And there wasn't really much that could be done, but what they did it well. And god damn it does it look good. Okay, so the graphics are great. A clear improvement of the original, which isn't very surprising given that it's a remaster of a 13-year-old game. The only critique I have with the new graphics is honestly a personal bias, because for this video I replayed this area and I don't really see what I was talking about, but some areas are brighter, not light-wise, but tone-wise. The most prominent example I can think of is Dark Beauty Castle. In the Wii, it's more gray and muted purples, which helps it feel desolate, ruined, and abandoned. A sad shadow of something greater that's fallen into disrepair, never to reclaim its former glory. It immediately sets the tone of something's not right. Something's twisted. It's dark, it's gritty, and this isn't a happy place. And while in the remaster, this tone is certainly present, the purples and grays are replaced for more like light blues and purple, which isn't bad. As a result, the room looks a lot brighter. It doesn't have a foreboding aura that the original did to child me, it feels a little off, but not by much. And this is a very minor nitpick in the grand scheme of things. To call it a nitpick is almost an overstatement. The new Dark Beauty Castle looks amazing. I'm not saying it looks bad at all. It's more vibrant than its predecessor, which means that some of the new graphics and the cartoony decor look in place. The paintings of all the famous Disney villains fit amazing with the new theme. So overall, it's a good change. I would even go as far to say that it is a great change. Even if personally, I miss the foreboding vibe that the Wii version had. Something just feels a little bit off, and I don't know what it is, but I'm going to chalk it up to nostalgia. All the enemy redesigns that are done in this game are spectacular. The first boss has a glow up. It loses the faceplate projected eye for an actual blinking 3D eyeball model, which is a simple change, but it adds a lot of personality to the Swiss Army robot. The Mad Doctor looks phenomenal, and all of the blotlings more or less look like themselves. The Sleeper gets a little broom skirt design that I quite like, because it really hammers home that parallel between it and the enchanted brooms from Fantasia that they always had, but it adds a little bit of something to it that I just personally greatly enjoy. So the graphics are great, but that's only half of a remaster after all. It could look fantastic, but it could also play like a bag of ass. So, how does it play, you might ask me? Oh, it plays fantastically. Every problem I might have had with the Wii version has been fixed in simple and effective ways. The camera doesn't twist and change suddenly while you're doing parkour because you now control the camera. It doesn't autocorrect for you, which it used to in the Wii. It's a bit more responsive. It pans far better than the original. So it's overall just a great improvement to one of the more frustrating aspects of playing the game on the Wii. The new sprint feature reduces the annoyance of doing fetch quests, which are somewhat necessary for certain endings or completing character arcs, so you kind of have to bear with it. The dash feature helps this as well, and it also adds a new layer to combat. That's an overall improvement. It makes it more fast-paced and frantic. The spin move not being motion controls feels a little wrong, but after about 20 minutes of playing, I got used to it, and I can't deny its simple use. Plus, I was lucky my controller has haptics, so it shook whenever I used it, so it quelled most of the nostalgia for the Wiimote, because that was pretty much what I was wanting. But if someone makes a mod for the Wiimote to work with the remaster through Steam, you know where to find me. The ground pound functions like an AoE spin move, and it has some pretty damn good graphics. They use the liquid physics to the fullest in this game, and it shows in the quality of them. Everything that's liquid looks liquid. Some have slight hints of viscosity to them. It's varied and overall very nice. Another change that they did with gameplay is in the Wii version, when you touched a pool of thinner, which is this green, viscous mass that removes all toon, which you qualify as. When you touched a pool of thinner in the original, it would give you about the boost of a double jump, I want to say, which was an advantage, because you could touch the thinner pool to go grab some collectibles easy, or make a tough jump. There was advantages to it. In the remaster, they removed that, so when you touch the thinner, it gives you about a jump to half a jump's worth of boost, which makes landing in thinner far more deadly, because with the old, longer boost, you could get out of it by touching it once or twice and getting to the next platform. But in the new game, you land in the thinner in the wrong spot, you're dead, and you're losing those e-tickets you drop. There are new collectible locations, which keep the game interesting for people like me, who know most every location for everything in the Wii game, and also may have bought the Deluxe Edition game guide, because it came with funny concept art. But it also rewards you for having that familiarity, because all of those items still exist in their exact same location. So it doesn't punish you, but it makes that more rewarding, because you still have to go looking for new pieces of concept art, new chests, new pins, what have you. There's slight changes to almost every stage that make it rewarding to play again, instead of just being a complete rerun of the same game. Speaking of changes in gameplay, let's talk about the bosses for a second, okay? Epic Mickey has a host of bosses. It ranges from absurd, a literal living clock tower from Small World, to downright sinister, the Mad Doctor or the Shadow Blot, for example. And the remaster takes these bosses and, by and large, adds a little something to them. The clock tower, for example, it has entirely new attack patterns and a completely original attack to the game. And this is a positive change, because it also helps break up that gameplay loop I mentioned, that you would probably get caught in if they hadn't changed anything from the Wii. If they didn't, I could see myself playing the game and having a good time and enjoying it, but it would still just be the same game. These changes make the remaster so much more of an amazing experience to me, someone who grew up with the game, and has an official painting of Epic Mickey 2 done by the artist, which is... It's a true story. I'll post a picture in my Discord later when I can. But it makes this retelling of the game... It's not the same game. It is truly a remaster of this older game that I hold near and dear to my heart. It has a new slapping of paint on it and a few extra sketches on the side for people like me. Now, at least on the Steam edition of the remaster, there are skins. And as far as I'm aware of, the skins are in every part of the game. And I don't mind them. It feels a little bit odd that they added the features. I don't understand why they added the feature. But at the same time, I can't deny that Steamboat Willie Mickey on the self-titled projector screen really goes hard. It's inexplicable how hard it goes, but it's so fun. That's by far my favorite skin in the game. They have a couple ones from, like, Mickey and the Beanstalk. They have a footballer Mickey, a engineer Mickey, and I don't know the other two, but they have a couple. They're there if you want them. It doesn't hurt you if you don't want to use them. There's an achievement for putting skins on, but, like, you can just put on the one you get and forget about it. The only problem I could think of is if you're trying to 100% the game, you'll need to buy the deluxe edition because it comes with about 3 skins. But, okay. Gameplay's changed, the graphics have changed, but has the story changed at all? Sure, it's a remaster, but maybe they dotted a couple I's, maybe crossed a few T's, or added a few periods. But as far as I can tell, no, not really. There's no real change in the story that I can tell. The 2D cutscenes feel exactly the same way they did in the Wii version, and there are a few exceptions, but those are all improvements. I didn't actually notice that they were different until I saw one of those improvements. I thought they literally just ripped it from the Wii, updated the graphics for the 2D ones here and there, and then put it in, and I was going to be more than happy with that. But no, they completely updated it, added a few newer frames. It's nothing that breaks up the game. If anything, it makes the game far more nostalgic to me. The loading screen benefits from a bunch of new splash art and a bunch of... It runs really fast, but I can't help but feel that something's just missing, you know? It might just be me, but I miss hearing the beeps and chirps from the Wii as it loaded a new area. I honestly thought it was part of the game, not the Wii. But that's honestly just bias. There's nothing wrong with not having that. In fact, I would honestly argue that that's an improvement. But if someone also mods that in as well, you know where to find me. The story feels fresh and vibrant just like it used to. The subtitles are cleaner and easier to read. All of the characters have the same little dialogue voices, and they all have this life to them that they did before, where even the smallest side characters have charm to them, which helps this world feel alive. The setting lends itself to the creative team, because so what if there's multiple of the same townsperson model in different areas? Because it just makes sense. In cartoons, their background characters that often are very similar because they get reused over the span of years, because a model sheet for this character is already drawn up. You might as well throw them in a couple backgrounds. Wasteland truly feels alive and vibrant, just as much as it feels like it's withering and dying. The spots of Toon show all the life, but all the thinner and broken and decrepit land shows that because of your mistake, you have messed up this world. This beautiful world. It has a fairly simple plot. You play as Mickey Mouse. We all know him. Y'all love him or hate him. You've created a monster, and now you have to deal with the consequences of doing that, because you were curious. Including, now you have to deal with your prodigal brother, who despises you for stealing what he considers his well-deserved fame. Which leads me to talking about Oswald, and the specific environments that the remaster really elevate him as a character. Oztown is the first one I'm going to talk about, simply because I have the least notes on it. It looks exactly how I remember it, albeit with a few new graphics, but that's to be expected. It's fun to walk around and look at all the buildings, see all the people, and even a recreation of Mickey's house, which really adds to Oswald's character, because it shows that he really desperately wants Mickey to show up here. He wants him to be forgotten, just like him, to move on, and be able to have the satisfaction of knowing that Mickey's fame doesn't last forever. And Hortensia's house is going to be mainly what I'm talking about in Oztown in terms of making Oswald the character that he is. It looks run down, but not forgotten. More so like he couldn't stand to be reminded of his loss. But he's quite happy about a reminder of simpler times when you hand him the locket in a later quest in the game. Oztown is vibrant. It has life to it. It's a stark contrast from the opening area, which also has Oswald's significance. Dark Beauty Castle is where you first find the mischievous rabbit, or rather he finds you, after you get sent here to Wasteland, spiraling through the sky on the blot, quick on your heels. You land in the Twisted Castle, with various Oswald statues, imagery, and paintings. Some are simple golden blast statues of the Lucky Rabbit that denote his status as the ruler of Wasteland. But there's a stained glass image of Oswald with the sword and the stone, and a few with Hortensia later on in the game. They directly tell his story. The first to find fame, the first to be forgotten. He was happy for a time in Wasteland, but the happiness eventually changed to a festering resentment of Mickey. Vitriol even more so once he lost Hortensia. So he abandoned the streets of Oztown, the splendors of Mickey Junk Mountain, and the beauty of Mean Street, and then he chose to stew in his moods in Mickey Junk Mountain. And let me tell you, this is the place that got the biggest facelift. It almost looks entirely new, but yet the layout is the same. All of the Mickey merchandise is still here, the areas are all, by and large, the exact same, but it's more run down, more broken, more discarded. The extra textures that were added into the game go in full swing in this area. It really adds to the experience. The second you get to the heap and the piles levels, you immediately get the picture. Oswald does not like you, and he obsesses over your downfall. Oswald is preying on your downfall. He'd like nothing better than to see you fail. So much so that when you actually see the guy, they double down on this. They double down on this aspect, and I love it. Oswald is such a great character in this, that the fact that Warren Spector, the original creator of the show, bargained for so long to get him back into Disney's hands, I can see why. Because they made a fantastic antagonist turned friend character out of Oswald that's just so endearing to have on screen. He's over the top. He's dramatic. He's kind of an ass. But you love him every time you see him. Or you hate him. Either or are both perfectly reasonable interpretations. So, this remaster has been out for not a while. About 2 days since I started editing and recording this video. And I've played it for about 8 hours. I had to reset once, and I didn't mind having to replay through the entire game to get back to where I was. The game is phenomenal. It's a dream. It plays exactly how I want it to. It looks spectacular, and it brings me back to those simpler times of booting up that game, or watching my parents play this game, or sitting at the top of the stairs, listening to the audio because I was supposed to be in bed, but I was just so enraptured by this world that Warren Spector and his team created. And I'm just so glad that people get a chance to play this game again, because it is a spectacular game. Granted, it's $60, which is a lot to ask of people. It's a lot of money to ask you to part with to play this game. And I'm biased, so I won't tell you if it's worth it or if it's not worth it. It's worth it to me because I'm a fan. I would pay any amount of money. Well, I would pay relatively any amount of money to experience this again, because it's just such a joy to be able to see your childhood be put back to life and live up to your expectations, because not everyone's remaster gets that. The Battlefront 1 and 2 collection is a great example of how it could have gone wrong, because that went wrong in almost every way possible. So that's the Epic Mickey remaster. It's a fantastic story, fantastic plot, but the plot wasn't really changed. The graphics look incredible. It plays very well. It's priced about like you would expect from a Disney and Nintendo thing. But hey, it's here. And I hope that we get a good remaster of Epic Mickey 2. And by a good remaster, I mean pretty much overhauling certain aspects of the game that were downright confusing to 12-year-old me. I could not for the life of me beat this game. And I don't think it's because I'm stupid. I think it's just genuinely because some things were poorly explained. But I feel like it had the potential to be good. I feel like that if we had given them a chance, if they had been able to spend like another year baking that game, they could have made a great game out of it. But yeah, that's my gushing about Epic Mickey. I'm so glad all of you have listened. If you did enjoy this, like, subscribe, comment, whatever. I'm not gonna ask you to do it. If you do it, I'm very happy and I'm very thankful to you. But if you don't do it, I understand. You just watching this is giving me all I need, honestly. That's all I want, is to be able to talk about the things I love, to be able to play the things I love, and just to be able to make a video that I'm proud of. And if this is the first one that I ever make, then this is the first video that I ever make, and I can't think of a topic I would rather make a video on. Thank you so much for watching, and maybe I'll see you around.